friends, my name is Madeline and welcome to my channel. It has been a little while since I've sat down and filmed a reading update kind of chatty video, and I'm really looking forward to this. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. At the time of filming this, it is just a couple of days before Epiphany, so still Christmas time, but I'm not sure when this will get edited and uploaded, so we'll see. But I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and maybe got some good reading time in as well. We had a really lovely Christmas. We had my husband's family all come to us this year, which was really special and exciting. And yeah, it's just been a good, kind of busy, kind of crazy time. I do want to give kind of a reading update, a little bit of a life update, maybe talk a little bit briefly about some goals and things that I have in mind for next year. Going to be pretty kind of minimal in terms of goals and whatnot. All right, battery cut me out. But anyways, so a little bit of a life update. If you're not aware, I am expecting our second child, and currently I am about to be 36 weeks, which is very exciting. And a couple of weeks ago, right before kind of Christmas time, right before Christmas, I ended up spending a couple of days in the hospital somewhat unexpectedly. Had a little bit of a preterm labor concern, which happened with my daughter previously. So that's why I say like somewhat unexpectedly, because it was the same thing. And, you know, I knew that this was likely to happen. So it wasn't as jarring, I think, as it was the first time around. It was very worrying, stressful, you know, when the midwife tells you like you need to go to the hospital now. You are probably going to be giving birth very soon. And that didn't really happen. I ended up going several weeks before I was induced with my daughter. Now I know that this doesn't really mean that things are like that the baby is going to be born imminently. I don't expect to be going into labor like in the coming days. I am kind of, you know, aware that this could happen earlier than the due date. So it's kind of like that weird space of being like, we need to be ready now, but also we could be waiting several weeks, which is just kind of strange, but that's okay. Luckily the baby is totally fine. I just spent a couple days in the hospital to get some steroid shots to like develop his lungs in case he would be born prematurely, but we are looking like that won't be the case, which is good news. And otherwise, like, everything is totally fine, which is good news. And like I said, I kind of was expecting this. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but I'm not terribly surprised that this is how things are. So anyway, all of that to say, I am now doing less per midwife orders, and you know, trying to take things easy because I am having contractions and all of that stuff. So despite like having more time technically available to read, I am so exhausted and just have the worst like brain fog, pregnancy brain situation, and I'm just not wanting to read, which is such a bummer. Things I was excited to read for, you know, Christmas time and winter, and we'll just see. We'll see if things clear up, if I get more in the mood for reading. But right now I read like a couple of pages and I'm just completely exhausted, which is fine. Just kind of a bummer because I feel like it would, you know, cheer me up to read a little. So that is kind of the update there. And I do want to thank you. I've had so many kind messages and people praying for us and our family, and I'm very happy that, and I do want to give you kind of an update because there were a couple of things that were concerns earlier kind of in the pregnancy that I was being monitored for. All of that stuff cleared itself up on its own, and we got news of that like a couple of weeks before the weird hospital stay time. So it was nice to have like a week of nothing, no extra appointments, no strange things happening, and hopefully we get a little bit more of that. That's kind of all I want to say about that. Obviously I don't know how many videos I'm going to be able to film in the coming days, weeks, before baby comes and get up. So we'll just kind of play this by ear. But part of that has led me to want to find a way to still share what I'm reading, because I still really enjoy that. And even if I don't have time to sit down and film and edit and upload a video, I want something that's maybe easier and quicker to kind of give you updates on. And I really do not like being on Instagram. I deleted Instagram several months ago, and it was like the best thing. It has been so good for me. I have zero desire to be back on Instagram. It was just soul sucking, honestly. And so I did not want Instagram. So I made a Substack, and I am looking forward to and enjoying getting to be able to share some updates and things on there when I'm not able to do videos. So I have a couple of things in mind that I would like to film, but if I don't get around to it, those will probably go up as Substack posts. So I will leave the link to my Substack if you're interested in the description, and you can follow along there for some more updates. That was a lot of like non-book things. But I do want to talk about what I read in December. Like I said, the weird week where I was like kind of in the hospital, threw things off, threw my reading off for that week and then the following week. So I started off the month really strong, ended the month less so, but that's okay. The first book I finished this month was In the Roar of the Sea by Sabine Gould, I think is the author. And this I read mostly in November. I finished like in the first couple of days of December. So it's a little foggy in my memory. This is a Victorian classic, and we are following Judith, who at the very beginning of the book, her father passes away, and his kind of dying wish is that she looks after her brother, who has some like mental struggles. It's not really clear what it is. It seems like maybe like a learning disability or something along those lines. But we don't really get a ton of information about that, but her father basically wants her to look after her brother and make sure he's okay when he's gone. And she does so. She is a incredibly devoted, loving sister who makes some crazy sacrifices to do what is best for her brother. And this is kind of a crazy story. We have smugglers, we have a lot of things kind of going on, and Judith ends up marrying this man. She's forced to marry this man, really, for her brother's sake. And this man is not very good, and it's known that he's a smuggler and kind of like the head of this ring of smuggling and is just like a bad guy. Judith marries him though because it's the only way to kind of save her brother. And the story just kind of unfolds from there. I liked parts of this more than others. I felt maybe parts of it were dragging for me. And maybe if I were in a different headspace and just had more time and was just maybe more concentrated on the book, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But this was kind of a middle of the road book for me. I was not super invested in it, but there were lots of things I really enjoyed. I liked Judith's character and her devotion and her strength to her brother. I thought all of that was really beautiful, and there were some fun moments. So I was excited to cross off another Victorian classic. I read Miracle on 34th Street by Valentine Davies. I feel like there's not too much to say about this book because everyone kind of knows the story probably from the movie. But the book actually came after the movie, which is interesting. And I feel like you can really feel that in the book because it reads a little bit like a screenplay. There's just not a lot of description. It moves super fast. I mean, like, this is a super short book, and the font is really big. It's 130 pages or something like that. So the story's just moving really quickly, and there's, like I said, not a lot of description. I found to be kind of a bummer. I would have enjoyed this more if it was a little bit lengthier. But I do really like the story. I like you know, the story of a child who comes to discover the wonder and magic of Christmas through this older man. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in this book. I just wish it would have been longer. I read a novella collection called All Hearts Come Home for Christmas. This had 4 different novellas and it all set during the Regency time and obviously during Christmas. I really particularly enjoyed the 3rd story in this collection. It was by Esther Hatch. That was my favorite story. I also liked Joanna Barker's story, but the first 2 I think I enjoyed a little bit less. 3rd story was really fun. It was this kind of relationship of convenience trope, and I just thought the characters were so well developed, and the story was really exciting. I don't always get along very well with novellas, like, you know, kind of my complaint with Miracle on 34th Street. I just like a story to be really fleshed out, and I like to spend a lot of time getting to know the characters and the setting and what's going on. And when that's condensed, I just typically don't enjoy that as much. But this 3rd story was really, really great, and I was excited to discover maybe a new author that I want to try. Because I have not read anything by Esther Hatch. I did listen to one audiobook this month, and that was the 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. This is, of course, another one that I feel like needs no introduction. Everyone knows the story of the 101 Dalmatians from the Disney movie. Did not realize that it was first a book, and it was so much fun. This just, I think, encapsulates what good children's literature should be like. It was funny, it was witty, it was a good story, and I just really, really enjoyed this. I had heard lots of good things about the book, so I kind of went in with high expectations, and I was not disappointed. It was a lot of fun. My last kind of Christmassy read, I read the 2nd book in the Heartwood Hotel series. This is The Greatest Gift by Kallie George. And these books are so sweet. They take place in a hotel in a forest, and you have all of these woodland creatures. Our main character is a mouse, and this is obviously set around Christmas time, and it's just a really, really sweet story about friendship, lots of cozy details that take place in the hotel, and I love all of the different animals that are coming together, and it's just super, super fun. Each book takes place during a different season, which makes it excellent seasonal reading as well. So I'm looking forward to reading book 3 when it is springtime. And my last read, which is not at all Christmassy, I picked this up when I was in the hospital and needing something to read that I felt would be fortifying, because spending a couple of days unexpectedly in the hospital was not planned for this month. So I needed something a little bit fortifying. I picked up He Leadeth Me by Father Walter Ciszek. This was on my 30 before 30 list, so I got to cross another one off that list. And in general, it's just a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time because I've heard so many amazing things about it, and it definitely lived up to all of the expectations. Walter Ciszek was a Polish-American priest who spent like 20-something years in Russian or in Soviet prison and work camps in Siberia, and somehow managed to survive these awful, awful conditions. And in this book, he's really talking about how he came to understand God's will and what it means to follow God's will. And there's just so much that really, really blew me away, and I found to just be the words and the message I needed to hear at that time. I copied some quotes out into my reading journal that I want to share with you. So the first is he's talking about God's will and kind of how he came to understand what that means practically. And he says, his will for us was the 24 hours of each day, the people, the places, the circumstances he set before us in that time. Those were the things God knew were important to him and to us at that moment, and those were the things upon which he wanted to act. We had to learn to look at our daily lives, at everything that crossed our path each day with the eyes of God. That, on the one hand, it seems so simplistic, like, yes, obviously, we should go about our everyday lives looking at these circumstances and trying to, do our best within them. But I think there's just so much wisdom behind that, because it's so easy to think about God's will as being like this distant thing. Like, I am able to, when I'm able to do X, Y, or Z. But it's like, no, this is like right now, the exact circumstances of your day. This is God's will for you. This is God's will for you to follow him in these moments. And very, like I said, very powerful, very much what I needed when I found myself in a situation that I did not really want to be in. And then another one I copied out. These are obviously things that felt very topical to me at the time of reading. And he's talking about, you know, when he was in the Siberian work camps, and the physical toll that took on his body, and how he came to kind of understand his body and the spirituality of that. He says, "It is in the body that we exist and work out our salvation. It is in the body that we see and take delight in the beauties of God's created universe, and in the body that we ourselves bear the marks of Christ's passion." Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So good, like 36 weeks pregnant. So like, you know, not feeling physically is super great. And I needed that reminder. Just really glad I read this book. It was amazing. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. I will need to get my hands on a physical copy, because I know this is one I'm going to want to reread and annotate and just spend time thinking about. Okay, that's it for my December reads. I think I want to quickly go through some kind of goals. Lots of these are very vague. And you know, I want to keep things loose, because obviously having a new baby at the start of the year, I don't know how things are going to go and how much reading I'm going to be able to do and all of that. I want to hold very loosely, but at the same time, I kind of wanted to make a couple of goals and think ahead about the year and make some reading hopes and dreams, if you will. So my first goal is I want to reach 20 books read on my 30 before I turn 30 list. 30 books I want to read before I turn 30. I am currently at 9, so I'm, you know, almost halfway to reaching that goal. And I think it's super reasonable. I have one book that I'm halfway through. I have a couple of series that I'm in the progress of finishing. So I feel like there's a lot of things on this list that I'm wanting to read anyway next year. And, you know, like it should be manageable. I want to do more rereading next year. This is kind of part of my postpartum reading plans, which either I want to make a video about or a Substack post. We'll see. But I am planning on really, really leaning into rereading during this time, because I know I'm going to have time when I'm up in the middle of the night nursing the baby that I want to read and not scroll on my phone. And at the same time, like, that is not the best time when you are sleep deprived up in the middle of the night to be tackling new books. And so I want to have some books that I've read in the past couple of years that I've really enjoyed, but maybe I don't remember everything about, or I just want to read again. And I think that will be really comforting and enjoyable for me. Kind of like ticking multiple boxes, because these are books I already enjoyed, so I know I'm gonna like them. And you know, the mental effort is going to be pretty low compared to reading a new book. So that's kind of my plan for that. I want to do more spiritual reading. I am in the mood right now just for nonfiction, for reading spiritual books. I have obviously finished He Leadeth Me. I plan on reading in January with Anne, In the Practice of the Presence of God. Is that what it's called? The book by Brother Lawrence. The Practice of the Presence of God, I think, something like that. With Anne from In Search of Wonder, so I'm going to be reading that in January. I want to read, I'm also in the process of reading Confessions by St. Augustine. I'm halfway through that. So there's like a lot of things that I'm wanting to read in this regard, so that should again be like a pretty attainable goal. I want to read, focus on the Kindle books I already own. I have so many Kindle books downloaded that I have not read, and they just get buried deeper and deeper by library books and new books that I acquire. So I want to try to get that number of Kindle unread books down. I don't know what that number is. I might look and see if I can figure that out. It's like over 100 something, which, you know, may or may not be crazy to some people, but I find that to be a little too much. So I need to get that number down. I want to read at least one book in French. I I've been slacking on not just reading in English. If you don't know, I live in France. I speak French pretty well. I can read French pretty well. And I just haven't been prioritizing reading in French because it takes a little bit extra brain power, obviously. And I just, you know, I don't really, I just prefer to read in English. It's easier. But I want to try to make the effort this year. I said one book because I already know what that book I want to read is. It's an epistolary January book, and it's the letters of St. Louis and Zélie Martin. I have it in French. My husband read it this past summer and really, really loved it, so I'm excited to read it. And I know that like letters, it's like a pretty easy easy read in French, so like obviously I'm going to be able to get that one done. Hopefully more, but again, we set the bar low at 1. And then I want to read more Victorian literature. I've just been loving diving into Victorian literature the past couple of years, and again, more is vague. More than what I read last year. I didn't read a ton. I read a good amount for Victober and a couple of other books sprinkled in. I don't think I probably read more than 6 pieces of Victorian literature, maybe. But again, we'll just see. Like, these are just goals. I want to be reading some Victorian literature. If that, however that happens, you know, I will be happy. Like I said, I wanted to keep it kind of vague, kind of broad, but these are kind of things that I'm interested in incorporating in my year in reading, and you know, we'll see how everything pans out. Well, if you made it to the end, thank you. Let me know below if you have any goals for 2026 when it comes to your reading life, or if you've read any great books in December. I would love to know that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.